Namaste and welcome to the very first episode of Arthat. My name is Sakshashree and I'll be presiding over today's conversation. I couldn't be more excited to embark on this podcasting journey with you. In a world brimming with headlines, we embark on a quest to unearth narratives often concealed beneath the surface. Arthat isn't just a podcast, it's a voyage of discovery, a treasury of unvoiced perspective of international relations and foreign policy. Today, we have a phenomenal guest, a true expert in the field, Nina Slama, joining from Israel, who will help us delve into a deeply complex topic that has captured the world attention for decades, the Israel-Palestine conflict. Many of us don't need an introduction, but for our friends who are listening to the podcast, let me introduce Nina Slama. She's a guest lecturer, teaching assistant, and project manager at Reichman University. Welcome to the platform of Arthat, ma'am.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
It's an absolute pleasure to us too, Nina. So this is one of the very difficult stories that has existed during this timeline. And the conflict between Israel and Palestine has been ongoing for 75 years and remains unresolved. This week, the world has been horrified by the images of a brutal multi-pronged terror attacks by the Hamas, and that controls the Gaza Strip on the western side of Israel. Again, civilians were gunned down by the terrorists who jumped into the Israel, and Hamas claimed that it is just a fighting on the historical grievances, including the loss of land in Israel and worries over the losses and the losing of the holy sites in the Jerusalem. So let's jump right in with a comprehensive understanding with Israel and Palestine. Please, Nina, just give us the atmospherics here or some context for what happened in Israel and what it is all about, why there are certain current issues that has emerged and why now. What are the current objectives and in-state goals for Hamas? Please share your pointers.
So in October the 7th, Israel was attacked by an unprecedented brutal attack from Hamas, which is a terrorist organization who is deployed in the Gaza Strip. They attack Israel in a combined attack through the air, the sea, and the ground, hurting and cleansing over than 22 towns in Israel, brutally murdering families. We're talking about men, women, children, that on a Saturday morning, which is Shabbat, the Jewish day of rest, we're together in order to celebrate also the Jewish festival of Simchat Torah. The attacks were horrific. It was a massacre. It was a genocide. And during these attacks, there were over than 5,000 missiles that were launched and fired to the territory of Israel. We're talking about men, women, children, babies, elderly person who were murdered, massacred, burned, and dragged forcefully and brutally from their homes to the Gaza Strip. Now there are still many people who are still missing, and more than 150 people that are captive in the Gaza Strip, not only Israelis, but also people coming from more than 30 different countries in the world, making this conflict a more international conflict because so many countries are also involved in this war because of their citizens captive in the Gaza Strip. The situation is still very worrisome. There are still rockets that are fired to our territory from the Gaza Strip, from Lebanon, and Syria, the two borders, northern borders of Israel, that are coming part of this conflict. And Israel should be deployed in both borders and keep open eyes also in the northern border of Israel in order to make sure that there are no infiltrations and no mortars and rockets that are fired from this front as well. So now we're still mourning and crying for our casualties, but we're still combating an unprecedented war against a terrorist organization.
The most terrific moment for all of us. So I absolutely agree to your point. This understanding of the gravity of these events is really crucial And coming to your part, that you have rightly said that there are certain scenarios that has been created because of all these events that have been mentioned by you. So how much of the timing do you think was because see, Hamas sensed weaknesses and a divided Israel, as there were some cracks in the Israeli government. So what's your take on it, that how and from where did this come from and what is the evolution of it?
So we have to understand that the Hamas terrorist organization does not need a specific reason to attack Israel. It's not the first one that it attacked Israel. And their main goal is to bring to the total destruction of the Jewish state. They are declaring it, it is written in their charter, and they are also they are getting help from state actors and non-state actors from the region. We're talking about Hezbollah, we're talking about Iran, and other actors that are involved in this conflict. This axis of terror is doing everything in its capability and in its power in order to diminish and bring to the total destruction of the Jewish state. And this is something which is very important to understand. Now, when the attacks occurred, I can tell you that Israel is united. Israel is resilient. All the people put aside all the differences and divisions that might have been between them in order to come together, in order to some ease to the victims of these attacks. They are collecting food, they are giving blood, they are collecting also equipment for the civilians and the soldiers that are employed in the southern Israel, coming together as one, as a united and strong nation, in order to wipe out the threat of the Hamas.
Well, agreed to your point that this conflict has really ripple effects, including and influencing the regional dynamics and the international affairs both. So, well, with the ongoing brutal situations, now people are asking questions that who is supporting whom. But lastly, I was discussing with someone and concluded that the most dangerous person is young, broke, and alone man. Yes, seems like reverse engineering is really a difficult task and result into the absence of opportunity across the young people. There is no way excuses to what has happened now. But do you think there are some sort of long-term goals or solutions? And if there are certain solutions, then what it would be? There is certain an economic aid, or I should say, is there own government rights, or is there any model for what we might want to implement here?
So for now, what the Israeli government is trying to do is, first of all, to wipe out the threat of the Hamas, because when there is no stability and no security, we cannot focus on other issues, because our very security and national security is under threat. We're still in the midst of the war. We still don't know what will happen tomorrow, whether this war will escalate or not. So now we are in a survival mode. We are trying to do our best to keep the civilians and our soldiers safe, and doing everything in order to wipe out the threat of the Hamas. Afterwards, there are so many, so many uncertainties and challenges ahead, and we are aware of them. But for now, we have to focus on the security and the stability of our nation in order to bring and address this threat.
That's really indeed. But let's talk about when we are coming forward with the discussions. So we are coming forward with these more steps ahead. So let's talk about some second order effects. As we have previously discussed, there's a temporary halt or stagnation in the potential agreement between the kingdom and Israel. I'd like to explore that and the audience as well, that the ripple effect of the situation on various fronts, including India's relations with both Israel and Iran. Because additionally, when we come to the point that I want your insights, that implications, and not just with the specific conflict itself, but also in the context of Russia's invasion over Ukraine, what are the foreseeable enduring geopolitical ramifications across the region of Europe and the Middle East, and how they might shape India's relations with these diverse entities?
So I can tell you that India and other countries in the West expressed their unequivocal support to the state of Israel because of the atrocities that happened here in our nation, in our territory. Prime Minister Modi is talking, also is expressed it on social platforms and elsewhere, and also discussed over the phone with Prime Minister Netanyahu in order to show India's support, unequivocal support to Israel. Both countries are strategic partners and are collaborating on a wide range of sectors, including defense, security, but also agriculture, weather management, climate change, and so forth. So we know that the people-to-people relations are also very strong. I can tell you that on a personal note, I received so many calls and messages from good friends and colleagues in India, knowing that all our brothers and sisters in India are here and are supporting Israel in this war. So just to be clear, Israel always extends its hand for peace. It did so in the past, in 1979, when it signed a peace agreement with Egypt, in 1994, when it signed a peace agreement with Jordan, but most recently, in 2020, when it signed the Abraham Accords with Bahrain, the UAE, Sudan, and Morocco. And I'm sure that other countries, whether it is in West Asia or other countries in the world, see Israel as a real partner. If in the past Israel was considered to be a source of many problems in the region, now today it is considered to be a solution to many problems in West Asia and in the world. There were talks before the attacks happened and the war erupted. There were talks about the normalization of relations with Saudi Arabia. For now, Saudi Arabia has declared that these talks are freezed for now. So it may slow down some processes and some dynamics that occurred before the war erupted. But I can assure you that many countries, even Arab and other countries, are supporting Israel in its war, because not only Israel was attacked, but the basic values of human morality and of humanity as well.
That's really great to hear from you in the detail. So the global political context is really plays a vital aspect over here. So why this conflict is so critical to the world economy, and where does you think that India stand economically and politically? As you have rightly said that Prime Minister Modi has taken stand with Israelis. So most importantly, my question over here, that why is this extremely critical for India in the 21st century? And what are the lessons that India should learn from these kind of incidents?
So following the Abraham Accords, there were many alliances and forums that were established. And India and Israel are part of them. I'm talking, for instance, the I2U Alliance, which is comprised of Israel, India, the UAE, and the US. The main goal of this alliance is to promote an open dialogue and a proactive dialogue where all the countries can come together and bring for prosperity to the region and to other places in the world. The main discussions and the main issues that were raised in this discussion were about climate change, food security, connectivity, and trade. And I can assure you that this kind of war can maybe change the dynamics in these alliances, but I am sure that they will remain strong enough because all the parties that are part of this alliance understand the need to come together in order to find solutions to burning issues, especially during wartime. West Asia is a combustible region for many years. There was the Arab Spring that erupted in the region, in North Africa and in West Asia. And there were also talks about bringing to a kind of different dialogue and different agendas in the region, not only with I2U2, but also with the India-Middle East Europe corridor that was initiated during the G20 summit that India hosted in India. So when there is no, stability and security in a certain country that takes part in connectivity, dialogues and engagements, it might slow down the process, but the process still exists. When things will be better, I am sure that the countries will come together again in order to promote this kind of engagements, because it is not only good for India or Israel, but also to all the parties that are part of these engagements. So we will see that more countries that are for prosperity, for peace, for stability, will still remain together strong and will try to do all they can in order to maintain these open dialogues.
In this point, I'm really agreeing with you that yes, prosperity and peaceful resolution must be taken in this incidences. So, and hope is a very powerful message, Nina, and we are hoping right now. And apart from all of the steps that we are taking upon, so as we conclude here, that is there a call or a message that needs to be taken, or a call to action that has to be done you'd like to share with our listeners?
So as you mentioned, hope is a very important thing in these times, but I can tell you that hope is also something which characterizes the Jewish people, because the Jewish people and the Israeli people went through so many tragedies during its history, modern and ancient history. And I can tell you that hope, also the anthem of our country, is called hope, the hope, Atikva. So we are hopeful, we have faith, and we know that we will prevail. But, I can tell you that when you are supporting Israel, you are supporting humanity. When you are supporting Israel, you are supporting morality. And when you are supporting Israel, you're supporting peace, stability, and prosperity.
That's really a fantastic message, Nina. Thank you for joining us on this very first episode and sharing your deep insights on this intricate and significant theme. And to our listeners, thank you for turning in to our inaugural episode of Israel-Palestine conflict. We'll be back soon with more captivating discussions on global issues. Until then, stay curious, stay engaged. Goodbye for now.